Hayden is officially better at shop burnouts than I am. Babe, where you at?
You want to sign me off there?
That's why I can't breathe. I would turn the heater on. Yeah, that's probably a good idea. What's up, everyone? We're back at Hayden's shop. We're back working on the Falcon. I wanted to do a quick video of just us fixing up. He changed a couple of things in there. They had some electrical issues. Had to change out a relay, and he switched spark plugs. He switched from non-resistor spark plugs to resistor spark plugs, which the ECU doesn't care about as far as functionality goes, but it did kind of make things run different. So we're gonna fix that up. Do the same thing we did previously, just doing some cold start stuff, making sure that fuel and everything is happy with cold start. And then we're gonna drive it around a little bit, make sure it's good with cold temps, and just verify everything's good with warm. Warm didn't really change a whole lot, or it's at least within the corrections. So it wasn't really noticeable in driving or whatever, but we're gonna look at it and make sure that it's not making any significant massive compensations. We'll zero everything out and get it back to normal. And then we'll probably do a burnout. Doing shop burnout?
Oh no, we're gonna do a burnout.
Yeah.
If the rear end doesn't break.
If the rear end doesn't break, don't put that. Oh, we should probably check the fluid in that too at some point, huh? No? Yeah, screw it. It'll just glow when we do a burnout, no biggie.
I mean, we probably could.
Okay, so yeah, that's the goal. So we'll start fiddling with that right now. They're gonna be working on the Civic, which is probably in a different video. And yeah, we'll see what we get done today. All right, guys, again, you'll have to bear with me on the sound. I'm using my GoPro so that I can actually get you some somewhat decent footage inside the car. So I'll try to speak loud. Hopefully it turns out clear enough. Looking good in the sunlight today. All right, so we're gonna start out just downloading what's on here, because I don't think I actually keep the file on my computer. It's pretty cold. Let's see what it actually says for coolant temp. Download the file from the ECU at the same time that is ramping up so that we can see what coolant temp is. It says 60 degrees, so not very cold, but I think that is temps that it was struggling with, so this will be a good test. I think, just based on what he described previously, I think it is going to need some more fuel at these colder temps. I don't think it's anything that we need to change on the table. I think the table is good, but we need to change the coolant temp compensation. So when I download from the ECU, it's going to show what has been populating in the learn table. So the last time that he started it up, so yeah, it's not doing much in the learn table. So I think everything was being done on closed loop compensation to fill in the gaps. But it does show that it needed a little bit of fuel. And this should have been what it needed when it was warm. So I think warm, we're still good. Everything is, in most of the areas, it's within 5%. There's a little area here that's showing about 10%, but overall, it's not that far off. So warm, I think we're good. So that kind of confirms the guess that we only need to make cold temp compensations in a coolant temp compensation table. I think that's all we're gonna have to do. So start it up right now and see how it goes. All right, so that went well. We're gonna go ahead and, so I turned it off just to make sure that all the compensations that I made, which shouldn't because they were all temp based, will not affect how it starts up warm and drives around warm. So turn it back off, I'm gonna turn it back on real quick, and then we're gonna go for a cruise and make sure everything else is good to go as well. I did end up only making changes to a coolant temperature and intake air temperature based tables, because those were the two things that were quite cold. They were both about 60 degrees, intake air temp and the coolant temp. So I made a small compensation to the intake air temp, and then a pretty drastic compensation to the coolant temp. One thing that I am noticing, I don't know if it had anything to do with the relay change or the stuff that Hayden changed out. So it was really only the spark plugs and that relay that was messing up. And I remember previously we only had about 13.5 volts. Now when the car is on and the alternator is running, we have 14.5. So that, keep in mind everybody, like the tiniest things really do affect the way a car runs. And not physically, but the way the ECU communicates with everything. Everything runs off of that voltage. So if there's a higher voltage, everything is running different. The injectors are running different. The fuel pump is running different. The coils are running different. Everything gets affected by that. So in the end, it may have been whatever they did, changing overall voltage, that may have been the biggest change to everything. So when you tune a car, you're calibrating it. Don't think of it as a tune that it's anything magic or whatnot. You're just calibrating the vehicle's ECU to what the vehicle currently is. If the car starts running different, more often than not, 99% of the time, it's because something physical is changing. So if something physical changes, that calibration is no longer valid because that calibration was meant for the way the vehicle existed at the time. Now, the better the ECU, obviously, the better it is capable of filling in those gaps and compensating, adapting to a changing vehicle. But things like pumps fading over time, coils going bad, plugs going bad, and injectors getting clogged up, stuff like that. If your car is running crappy, 9 times out of 10, it's a physical issue that the ECU can't compensate enough for. So, just keep that in mind, I guess. Brakes still feel awful. So the drive was successful. Everything feels pretty good. I'll have to go back and take a look at the log. I was keeping an eye on air fuel while I was doing pulls, but I was not able to keep an eye on the compensation that was happening during the pulls. So I'll see if maybe we need to add a little bit of fuel up top during the pulls, or pull any fuel. We'll just see what it was actually doing in there. But it was maintaining the air fuel, so we know we weren't outside of any weird compensation. So yeah, I think as it sits now, you can start it up cold, you can start it up warm, you can drive it around, do whatever you want, do pulls. It's ready for the dyno so that we can start figuring out what timing we actually need to put in this thing. It's really conservative right now, so we'll probably pick up a good amount of power with timing. And then after that, we can try to mess with injector end angle a little bit, see if we can get a little bit more gas mileage out of the thing. That's the type of stuff that I think some people don't do, and you're leaving a little bit on the table. It's nice to have a vehicle that, yes, makes power and everything, but it's nice to have it drive good, and it's nice to make sure that you're getting efficient gas mileage. So you're not dirtying up the plugs quickly and having issues. Because if you dirty up the plugs because you're driving around relatively rich, that's going to affect power soon. So it's, even though it's like, oh well, this is only like a fun weekend car, it's a race car or something like that. Well, street car stuff done improperly affects race car stuff. So you want to have the best of both worlds. There's no such thing as a streetable tune and a race car tune. There is a complete tune, and that's what we're trying to do this thing. So we'll see how it goes. I guess we're going to be doing a burnout here in a second.
shit, I can't see anything. I'm gonna turn the heater on.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea. That's what I'm telling you, dude. The last time you couldn't see shit.
Woo! Holy shit. It's a bit thick in here. Oh, I forgot to set up the fan. Whew. That's a bit rough. Holy shit.
Falcon did so fucking good.
I don't know if you can see that. The GoPro's probably really dark. I need to grab my other camera.
That's the rite of passage for the Falcon. It's ready for the Dyno now.
Yeah. All right, it's a successful shot burnout. Hayden is officially better at shot burnouts than I am. He's got more practice.
I'll probably say that using like a phone.
I guess that's a good note to end the night on. Get back to it tomorrow.